All right. Just bear with me while we do some administrative stuff here in the background. Okay. Great. Hi, Tristan. How are you? Excellent. Okay. I think we're going to get started. We've got, yep, we're recording. I've got the waiting room disabled. All right, I'm going to get going. Welcome. I don't have my video enabled because I have some bandwidth constraints. Casey will be my eyes during this session. And this is the 13th session of the BDCC Business Resiliency webinar. Today's July 17th. In the past, we've talked about the Paycheck Protection Program, the EIDL program. Those are two of the programs out of the CARES Act. And last session, which was 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the Vermont State Recovery Grants. And today, we're going to be talking about the Vermont Sole Proprietor Stabilization Program, which was announced, I guess technically this morning, and we'll be opening up on Monday. So we're going to go into some of the details around that. With us, or at least invited, I should say. Let me pop back over to Zoom to see if I see her. Is Ann Kroll from, she's the Grants Management Director for the state of Vermont. But I've learned that the folks with the state are I don't say this cynically at all, because it's just very true. They get pulled in so many different directions. So sometimes it's difficult for folks to jump onto these. But we'll nonetheless cover the aspects of the program, the process, how to ask questions, and some of the questions that we've already started to receive. So I see Tristan here. I usually start by asking if there are any updates that our representatives, so pardon me, I should say Representative Tolino. That's really what I should say, Representative Tolino. I see that he's here today. And I'll ask Representative Tolino if he'd like to say a few comments.
Thank you, and Tristan is actually just fine. But this is the Brattleboro area after all, and we're the casual South, right? So what I would say is that from the legislature is in a holding pattern right now. We did the work of crafting our bills, sending them to the governor, and then as some of you were on with Ted Brady recently, they're in the implementation phase. And so fundamentally, what will be helpful for the legislature is to learn how it's going, what problems are emerging out of what we set up, and how the administration has implemented it. And so I think the opportunities will be there in August when the legislature comes back into session to make some minor changes to the laws that we passed to try to prepare to move out the the Corona Relief Fund dollars out into the communities. So I think that's pretty crucial. Beyond that, I'm happy to try to help understand some of the decision making that went on within the two bodies that led to the particular program choices that we made. I may not have all of the details, but I can give it a go if that's of interest to people. And beyond that, I would just say that our hope is certainly that the two programs, the major programs that push money out, is really the focal point of the state's response to write directly to the business community, and was intended to be done in a way that would move quickly, meaningfully, and prioritize the businesses that had seen the greatest loss in revenues. And beyond that, there are subtleties to certain aspects of it, but that's the general thrust of what we have done. And I'll happily answer questions as they come up.
Great, and appreciate that. And as always, we do record these. I think I mentioned that. And if you want to put any questions in the chat, go ahead. If we're not able to address them during the session, we will endeavor to follow up by email after the session. Thank you, Representative Tolino. I see that there's already some discussion in the chat, so sometimes it's useful to keep an eye on that, because someone may answer, or someone may ask a question that you had in mind, and it may have already been answered. So my colleague, Bobby Kilburn, was gonna maybe talk about the, just some overview, but I know she got a call right as this kicked off, but I wanna check in with her. Bobby, do you wanna say a few words, or do you want me to take that piece?
IT, you're gonna need to take that piece. She's on the phone.
Gotcha, okay. So the Vermont Sole Proprietor Stabilization Program comes through the state as a community development block grant. It's part of the CARES Act, and I'm just going to read from the website here. So it's designed to assist sole proprietors with no employees that have impacted by COVID-19 and have remaining unmet needs that can be documented. And businesses will be required to provide a duplication of benefit affidavit to document unmet needs. So a lot of sole proprietors were able to access the unemployment benefits and pandemic unemployment benefits. But this program is to try to help sole proprietors that even above and beyond that still have unmet need. So depending on what that unmet need is, there are essentially three different buckets. There's a bucket for $10,000, a bucket for $7,500, and a bucket for $5,000. 50 awards will be given for folks that have unmet need in the amount of $10,000 or more. 64 awards will be at the $7,500 level, and 110 at the $5,000 level, for a total of $1,530,000, which is it's not a lot, and our anticipation is that this will be a highly competitive program. The awards will be selected by a lottery. I'm gonna jump over to my participant screen just to look for Anne to see if she's here. Okay, it doesn't look like it. All right, so let me talk about the timeline a little bit. So what we call the portal, the way in which you start the process opens on Monday, July 20th. And submissions will be taken through July 27th, midnight. And then the grant application submissions will begin on the 20th as well, and through July 31st, midnight. The lottery drawing will happen on August 14th. And then the awardees will have issued sub-grant agreements starting the week of August 17th. And payments will be issued August 27th. So it's a tight timeline. Something I know Casey's going to talk about a little bit in just a moment, but something I really want to highlight is this program requires that folks have what's called a DUNS number. And if you go to the website, which I'll paste in the chat.
Yeah. RT, do you mind if I can go ahead and share my screen so that people can kind of see the website as we're going through it and talking about it a little bit more?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks.
Okay.
So a DUNS number, it's required that you have one. So that's a step that you can start now. We did a test earlier this week, and we had our DUNS number in less than 24 hours. So if you do not have one, follow the instructions. There is a great tutorial that was created by our partner, Storm Petrol, who's also here waiting for any questions that might apply to them. And by the way, they're a Vermont-based company, helping us they're a software development company who provided the grant administration tool to manage this program. So so I'm highlighting the fact that you need a DUNS number. So watch the video and then go to the URL that's on the website and find the link for get a DUNS number and take that do that application. It only takes a few minutes. All right, I'm going to go back to my notes. And I think now I'm also going to go back to my screen. Oh, it got wonky. I hate it when Zoom gets wonky. And I'm going to look for Anne. I don't see, because I want to give her the opportunity if she's here. Okay, so Casey, yeah, I think people are going to want to understand the process and how will they go about navigating this, and then going to the appropriate place to submit a pre-application. What's pre-application versus a full application, and so forth. So take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as RT said, the very first thing that people should do is go down, get that DUNS number if they don't already have it. That's required to start the pre-application process that will open on Monday. So for that pre-registration process, the link to that, I'm going to go ahead. If you go down to, there's full instructions on the PDF here. There's also.
Are you sharing your screen? Is it? It could be just me because I lost my window or something. Are other people?
I think that I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
It's just me. Nothing new. Okay.
Great. So yeah, there's really wonderful video tutorials for the whole process, step by step, the DUNS number, the pre-registration portal. To get to that pre-registration portal on Monday, click on this download instructions. This has the full instructions for completing the process. What I would even recommend right now is this is where folks will need to go to start that pre-application. So if you were to open it up right now, you would get, this is not accepting applications at the moment. This will change on Monday. What I would even do is go in, bookmark it, and so that you don't have any trouble finding it on Monday. So if I can, oh no, it's happened to me too, RT. All the windows are preventing me from going backwards.
Yeah,
There we go.
Bear with us, folks. There we go.
All right, so you'll complete the pre-application. It takes, a couple minutes, really straightforward. Again, there's a tutorial on completing that. Once you've sent in your pre-application, whether you're in the, whether you're with the, you know, if you're in any of these counties, you receive, the folks up there will approve those pre-applications, will approve the pre-applications for any of these in these counties that come in. Once your pre-application has been approved, you will then receive an email with login information, and that will then allow you to, it'll have a link, it'll have login information, and that will allow you to complete the actual grant application. And there's a tutorial for that as well here. And it's pretty straightforward. The videos are really helpful. You know, we've run through those over here. And then if you have any questions, there is a frequently asked questions document that is listed here. That's a great source of information. And you can also direct any questions that aren't covered by the videos or those frequently asked questions to this CDBG-CV. It will be at Brattleboro Development, if you're in Windham County, for example. All right. Now let's see, am I missing anything else obvious, RT?
I don't think so. I just want to highlight something you said from a process perspective. And Christina from Stored Petrol, if you want to jump in here, please do as well. But it's really not including the DUNS piece. It's really a two-step process. You're going to fill out a pre-application. That pre-application will be reviewed by one of those two organizations, either the BDCC or the Two Rivers, depending on which county you're in. You will then, if approved, what we're looking for really is that you're an eligible entity. You know, we are expecting that, and I hate to say this, but we know this happened at the Department of Labor and other agencies, that there will be some folks, some bad actors trying to access these funds. So we need to do some due diligence to verify that folks are actually businesses within the state of Vermont. So we do that, and then we, on the system side, approve, make an approval, and then you will receive an email that invites you to, or instructs you to complete the full application. And in that full application, then you'll be asked some more detailed questions about, you know, any duplication of benefits, what the need is, what the loss of revenues are, and so forth. So the point is, it's a two-step process. Once the application is submitted, then another review happens that goes, you know, once everything's legitimate and reviewed, you're put into the lottery pool bucket, if you will.
Great, and I just want to jump in. It looks like we had a question about finding the family income form. That's actually built into the grant application itself, and is pretty straightforward. It has the document that you would download as a PDF, you fill it out and then upload it back into the system.
Christina, is there anything that maybe I missed that really merits some other highlighting?
I think you got it.
Okay, then. Thank you. So let's get to how to ask questions. Casey already pointed out the frequently asked question document. So along with obtaining your DUNS number, if you don't have it, what you can do now is go through the questions on in that document. And Casey is scrolling down to point to where that is. The other part that I want to highlight is that there's not a call center for this. There's just a lack of capacity. You know, so we have set up 2 email addresses. If you are one of the counties that's associated with the BDCC, it's cdbg-cv@brattleborodevelopment.com. And if you are in one of the other counties, I can't see my screen, it's cdbg-cv at trorc.org. That is the best way and really the most expeditious way to get an answer to a question. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by multiple messages. On Monday at 8 a.m., the pre-application will become available. So right now, if you go there and you download the instructions and you see this link, you'll just get a screen saying you're here, but you won't be able to do anything. So understand that it's closed at the moment, and starting Monday that'll change so that you are able to complete the pre-application. Okay, I was thinking I'd go through each of the FAQs, but I don't think we need to go one by one through that. What I do want to note is one of the questions that's already come in. Casey, I'm trying to find that in our notes. Bear with me. Where did it go?
And while you're looking for that, I just want to point out a great piece of information that Christina from Storm Petrol let us know. So I definitely gave you the wrong information about bookmarking the page. Make sure to come back and visit it because it may lock onto the page that says that it's not ready yet. So just know that when you come back in on Monday, click on the download instructions. That's where that link to the portal will be. Everyone will use the same username and password to get into that pre-application, and you'll come to a page that looks like on the left over here.
Yeah, so I'm having technology issues, but so the question that has already come in that I wanted to bring up was related to eligible expenses. Part of the full application asks what are your costs, what are your expenses, and this particular question was related to people who work from home and take a percentage of their home as a deduction, and they do that calculation. In their reading through the FAQs, their interpretation of that was that because the way the FAQs are laid out, the next one asks, are you able to use your, pay your mortgage or something like that? And the answer to that is no, but the percentage of your home is an eligible expense, but you just have to prove that that's in fact what you're doing. So, that's getting really into the weeds. I guess my point is, if there is something that is not clear to you, use those 2 email addresses to ask us, and we'll get back to you with an answer. Okay, I'm looking through the questions in the chat right now. Let's see if we can tackle some of those. How do I get HUD duplication? How do I get the HUD family income form? So that was already answered. HUD duplication, I'm not sure what that is. Duplication of benefits, that's maybe a term that you're not familiar with, but like if you received unemployment or the pandemic unemployment as a sole proprietor, that because those are federal funds, that is considered a duplication of benefit. And so again, this program is meant to help businesses that still have unmet needs. And we understand that there's many unmet needs, and that this in and of itself is not going to, this is not a unicorn, but it's what we have right now and what we're trying to deploy. So we do understand that. Unemployment is intended for meeting personal needs, not unmet business needs. Let's be clear, money received through will have no impact on sole proprietors qualifying for the funds we are discussing, correct? So I think I addressed that. So unemployment is because it's federal money, it's still considered a duplication of benefits. So my recommendation would be to do the calculation, in the application, go through that, and you're going to be asked for what is your unmet need and what are your costs and where are the shortfalls, and a determination will be made about what the unmet need is. We do not qualify for unemployment because we stayed open to business. We had revenues close to 2019. Okay, done. Sorry, just bear with me as I read through these. Ken, Dunn's application requires 2 official docs. I don't know that it does.
It does.
What's that?
It does.
Okay. So,
But there, a bank statement, a utility bill, the threshold's pretty low.
okay. Yeah. So that's why I want to emphasize, start that process now, so that you can have that Dunn's number for Monday. Curious why there are restrictions on this grant money, and there does not seem to be any for the other CARES. Again, the program design is really, there's programs for other types of businesses, but the goal for this program was really to focus on sole proprietors, because there's many sole proprietors that are hurting. Yeah, some of these are pretty detailed, so I'm inclined to try to respond to those by either putting them in FAQs or respond individually to those. So yes, thank you. We're putting in the emails that are needed for asking questions. So again, it's cdbgs-cv@brattleborodevelopment.com and cdbg-cvtrorc.org. I have 2 questions. First, what is considered working capital aside from rent and utilities? Additionally, what is the duplication of benefit? Okay, so what is working capital? Good question. So working capital is really your operating budget. Really, it's you're paying your utilities, you're paying your rent, you're buying inventory. If you're a slightly larger business and you have wages, it's paying wages. So that's working capital is somewhat of a broad definition. What is the duplication of benefit form and what is involved with completing it? So we touched on the duplication of benefit. It's embedded within the full application. If you received a PPP loan, you're going to put that. You're going to put the amount. If you received an EIDL advance, you're going to put that. So that's part of the application process. It's not a separate form. Okay, I see another question. Sorry, I'm just reading. This is a longer one. Something maybe. Both. So I'm looking at Patricia's question about doing some work to a B&B. I'm inclined to answer that offline. I can't remember if there are any restrictions around. I know there's something about the use of funds, and I don't know if there's any restrictions around construction. Sometimes there are.
RT, this is Bobby. I
Great.
can answer this question if you'd like.
Thank you.
So part of these grant funds can be used for retrofitting your business. So if you need to pivot in some way to sort of change course from what you were doing before to what you need to do now to continue your business, these funds can be used for this. If it has a construction component to it and you are a selected grant recipient, then either BDCC or Two Rivers, depending on which county you live in, will work with you to assess your project and see if we can use the funds in this way. So this is going to be slightly dependent on the type of project, but I would absolutely encourage you, Patricia, to apply if you meet all the other eligibility criteria.
Okay. Thank you, Bobby.
RT, can I just suggest that you re-explain the part about the 3 different tranches of funding and sort of how that works?
Yeah, sure. So there's 3 different buckets. There's a $10,000 bucket, a $7,500 bucket, and a $5,000 bucket. When you do the full application, you're going to put what your unmet need is. Well, no, let me rephrase that. You're gonna put in the funds that you've already received. If there's any duplication of benefits that we've talked about, you're going to put in your revenues and your expenses, and then a calculation will be made that determines unmet need. And then depending on where that falls, you know, that puts you in one of those buckets. So that's somewhat predetermined for you. And I'm going to put Bobby on the spot by saying, did I describe that correctly?
Yeah, so as part of the application process, you're going to put in all of your expenses, and your expense period can range from March 1st to September 1st. And then you're also going to put in all your duplication of benefits. So any monies that you received from any other federal sources, town revolving loan funds, anything that qualifies. And this is literally when you get to the grant application, it is literally just plugging in to the application. So it's very easy to enter. It will then come back with a need. Say, for instance, you put in $20,000 worth of expenses, but you have some benefits that you've already received of $10,000, your unmet need would be $10,000. You would then fall in the bucket of a $10,000 grant. And that would work for $7,500 or $5,000 based on your unmet need. The lottery approach is going to be a waterfall effect. So in other words, we will start by selecting, and when I say we, neither BDCC nor Two Rivers is going to do this. The lottery will be done by a third party, somebody outside of our 2 organizations. They will start by selecting 50 $10,000 grants. Then anyone that remains in that $10,000 category would then roll into $7,500, and we will pull 64 grants at $7,500. And then whoever remains will go to the $5,000 bucket, and we will pull 110 grant recipients. So there's going to be a total of 224 grants. They will be split between BDCC and Two Rivers. So BDCC and the counties that it represents will have 112 grants awarded within these 3 buckets. And then Two Rivers will have the offsetting 112 grants.
Thank you, Bobby. You're just so darn clear. Thank you for being so clear and concise. There's a great question in the chat. there's a great question in the chat that asks about a business that is an online only business based in Vermont. The requirement is that the business is domiciled in the state of Vermont, and that it is a sole proprietorship. So my assessment would be that they would qualify. Patricia, going back to my question, as the work I need to reopen is future expense, not something I have had past proof. Bobby, do you see Patricia's questions?
Yes.
Are you able to address that one? Yeah.
Sure. So what I would do, Patricia, in this case is you're going to need some type of estimate to do this type of work. So if you think you need to retrofit your B&B, if it's adding a bathroom or what have you, you're going to need some basis for that estimate. So if you don't have that, I would ask you to try to get that as quickly as you can and use that as your support for your future expense. And because you won't have any past proof, that's correct. But that does, again, I would encourage you to still apply and to include that in your estimate based on the best information that you have.
Christina Moore, are you still here? Yes. Mary Hamilton is asking about the expense portion. Does one of your videos dive into that and what that looks like?
The term has a little ambiguity to this poor programmer person, so forgive. I bet that the question is how to enter like estimated costs that you're asking for. That is in the video.
Okay.
There is a separate process after award is made where we capture the actual expenses, where you upload the invoices and proof of payment, but that has not been addressed during this call. So that is in the video, the business on how to enter expenses.
Okay, great. So Mary, I would recommend that you take a look at the videos. Unless I'm just not understanding the question, just let me know in the chat.
And then RT, just to follow up on another question that Patricia has, there is a section in the grant application for uploading documents. There are some documents that are required. You'll see that in the instructions, and they're very clearly lined out for you. But you can upload additional documents as well. But at that point in time, at the time of the grant application, Patricia, you wouldn't be required to upload support for that. You would just need to have that if you are a grant recipient.
Thanks, Bobby. Christina touched on something that was related to the process that awardees will be going through once awards have been named. So that the intent of this session was not to get into those details. We will probably do another series or another webinar for awardees to help them through that process. But I just want to make that distinction. Thank you, Christina.
RT, I'm sorry if I didn't hear this, but someone had asked early on whether owners of commercial real estate are eligible to apply.
If they're sole proprietors.
Yes, the answer to that is yes. If you are a sole proprietor without any W-2 employees, so you can be whatever your business status is for tax purposes. So sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, you can have any business tax designation. The key is you cannot have any W-2 employees.
Okay. I'm just checking. When we do these webinars, we get messages sometimes on our phone, sometimes within Zoom, and sometimes in other ways. So I'm just checking to make sure that I'm not leaving anything. Okay. All right. Well, it seems like the questions have been slowed down. Well,
Yeah, RT, I think that the real estate question, the one that you were looking for, had actually come in by email. Do you want me to put that into the chat so you can try, so we can just see if we can address it?
Sure. And then while you do that, well, you're quick. There was one above that from Amanda. A further question about business expenses, unmet needs. I'm understanding that unmet needs on the application includes only business expenses, yet pandemic unemployment is considered a duplication of benefit, which means that they're expecting people would have spent their PUA on business expenses, not personal expenses, right? Okay, if I'm understanding correctly, it feels incongruous to me. Seems likely spent on groceries. Yeah, it's
RT, I think the easiest way to answer this is, because these are HUD funds, there's special requirements associated with duplication of benefits. And the state and federal unemployment money, regardless of how you spent it, is federal monies. And for this particular program, it is considered a duplication of benefit funding source that needs to be identified.
I would still encourage one to apply and complete the worksheet, because you know, it's worth going through the process to see if there's an unmet need, despite, you know, it's not a heavy, the application is not a heavy lift. The pre-application is certainly not a heavy lift. So, you know, throw the hat in the ring to see if there's an unmet need that's calculated.
I want to echo that, because I think, you know, what we know is that this is probably going to be insufficient. We know this will be insufficient funding given the amount of need out there, but the best way to help shape the next program will be to apply so that it's clear to the legislature, to the administration, what was the gap. And I realize that that doesn't offer you an immediate solace, but I think it's really important to have that information to improve this.
Yeah. So Bobby, I don't know if you saw the question that Jennifer posted. I touched on this earlier, but maybe not as clearly as you can do. As long as somebody can prove that it's a legitimate business expense related to, you know, through their taxes, that they took 27% of their home square footage, that's a valid expense, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. So in this case, if I'm not sure who asked this question because it came from Jennifer, but in this case, if you were selected as an award recipient, we would work with you to gather the documentation that would be needed to support your 27%. So again, going back to what Jennifer just stated, as well as RT, you know, we would encourage you to apply, and you know, at the end of the day, BDCC will have you know, 112 award recipients that we will get to know very well. And we will work with you to, you know, make sure that you continue to be eligible and you have the documentation, and we can get the correct documentation to be able to support the award that you're given.
Great. Okay. Okay. I'm just pausing. Nothing else has popped up. So, Representative Tolino invited questions. So I don't know if, did I die?
Oh, no, I stopped sharing my screen. Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
wow. Okay. Thank you. Representative Tolino had invited questions. So I don't know if anybody has any questions related to the other state programs. We have a few minutes. I'm now trying to, okay, I've got my screen back. Okay. Representative Tolino, looks like you're off the hook. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. Again, we will continue to do these as programs emerge or as needs are defined, and we can help address any questions that people have. Again, we've moved these to every 2 weeks. I don't have my calendar in front of me. I don't know what the date is of the next one, but we'll send out, as we always do, reminders. So keep an eye out for those. And again, if you have questions and you're within the BDCC's region, those counties referenced, cdbg-cv@brattleborodevelopment.com. That's the way to get your answers. There's not a call center. I just want to highlight that. My other highlight is if you don't have a DUNS number, go get a DUNS number. All right. Bobby, do you have any closing comments?
Sorry, I muted you, RT. Nope, I don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay, Casey, any closing comments?
Nope.
All right. Thanks for your help today. Appreciate it very much. Storm Petrol folks, thank you very much. Signing off. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. Casey, go ahead and stop the recording.